Piacevole! 5 years ago with our team.
All right, I'm gonna go check out.
There. You can. Like 6 inches. Most important.
Are we live? We should test the mic though. Alex, should we test the mic? Everything should be, we're good? And all the table mics are working well? Do they work on cue? So like, will I say like table 2, table? It's the best setup yet. Oh. That's true. This brain worked hard enough. No? And since I have I will. All right, we're gonna go. Can I make this higher? Or no? Like a little too tall for this stuff. Oh, yeah.
Love you, Claire.
Did she say I love you back? Love it. What time is it? Party time. Let's go. 5. 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon. Can I get the doors closed? And we're live streaming?
Yes, we're live.
We're live. Hello. Do you know who comes on? Or you don't get to see that?
For YouTube, I wouldn't see that. For Zoom, I will, but we're not really sharing the Zoom outside of like just the board or directors.
And nobody's on Zoom right now?
As of right now, no. Because the link hasn't really been shared. I gave the link to Patty. Not here.
Can
I gave it
you,
to Claire. Claire's got the
or
link
give
now.
it to Giselle?
I'll send it to Claire.
Yeah. And then I'll just need a note, like who pops in, whatever, right? Okay. Good afternoon. Gisa hamaw eh? Gisa hamaw? Gisa hamaw?
Okay, Giselle, I'm sending you the link for the Zoom.
Mana?
Thanks.
Grand Chief? Is he in the room? No? I take that as a no. Oh, the doors are locked, I think. Noodle, Wahash. How's the sound in the back? Good? Okay. I'm looking for Grand Chief. Grand Chief hasn't arrived yet? Okay, that's okay. Grand Captain? Maha? Mahwa? Board. All right, opening prayer. Geludum. Kispi panimade sedo kiskuk. Pablo? Eh? Tampa sasagyo. Edit microphone ala badaw dito.
Hello? Okay. Also the Madnero. Tandil was niskam niskam jewel niskam narliach. Olalia niskam dandil mawalia kisko kolabis karugis in the midutia. Aha, edaway surwen mulain. Kiskuga dahagru school dasigal penwega labadasik naha bonamwin school in Buakoe. Oldas waltutiek. Ach ma omigurerum katik down is squishinuga, nudadi also the mahan kisko. Nuchin and waso have been jiptuk delwis in megade megwaso and lidanen. Chiptugin and weagulan molegulators and nade waso hiki that is hadaski. Chiptugaldin and that is hadle mammy game. Gelamo manigalis miega lapnigage kisko clamotish penangan munilunal. The Yavisik tachi wainam to me up kill this scum the Yavisik twin. Elwe uche Morgan in Mage wants to dear Mutigan, because no one go when Chico go where Jigladwin at Liach. And there was Wills Niskam, Uchidniskam, Niskam at Liach.
Well, Ali Pablo.
When did you come in?
It's been a while, guys. You'll remember in 2020, we reflected, we knew that coronavirus was in Canada. It was in BC at the time. There were 3 cases. And I think our logic then was, we'll shut down for 2 weeks and get through this. And then we really found out what it was, right? But it's funny how things worked out and how things played. So here we are 2 years later at what I feel like is a normal symposium. A lot more attendees than last year, certainly. We still had a symposium last year, but it was very much as bare bones as we could have it. And so it's nice to see a couple of the things that I haven't done since 2020. I have never buffeted in 2 years. So I was like, oh, how do you act? So it was nice to do that again and to see all of you. We have a couple of things to go through here today. There are some, oh, the schedule isn't there.
It is now.
Oh, there it is. I'm going to run through the agenda over the next 3 days and certainly focusing today on day 1. We have a lot of things to get through. So first is the presentations order. If you haven't left your presentation yet, please come up to Julian during break or lunch and leave your presentations with him and just make sure that they're running smoothly and effectively. The presentation order here today by, of course, volunteer, Bear River, Goose Cap, Pictou Landing, and then Eskasoni. So, Walali Babulo, we should opening prayer. I want to welcome, I think, all new faces here today, and certainly haven't seen many of you in a couple of years. So I wanted to just acknowledge the MK staff that's here today. Some of them are very new to MK, and you may not have had the chance to meet them. So I'm just going to go table by table, starting with table 1. If Giselle could stand up. Giselle Stevens, Mi'kmaq language. Table 6, MK staff. Oliver Denny. Aline Oliver. Oliver is replacing Faye. Table 7, we have Dave and Gloria, who's right there. Table 10. Hi, Brenda. Brenda McIsaac and James Young. I don't see the table number for your table, Tass. Oh, table 13, any MK staff there? Table 11, table 8. We'll fix that at lunchtime. We have Levi Denny, Tex Marshall, Kyla Bernard, Miranda Bernard, Daisy Robertson, Michael R. Denny, and Janine Denny. A lot of Denny's. Table 5, any MK staff? Table 2, another MK table. What the heck? We have Justine Paul, Sindel Knockwood, Rebecca Sirocco, Michelle Marshall Johnson, and Claire Muse. Table 3. We have Janine Marshall, Yolanda Denny, Sheila Gould, and Kim McKinnon. I don't see your table number. 4. We have Bubble Jador. Table 9. Jasmine Collins and Jacqueline Prosper. And table 12, I assume. 12. We have Rebecca Barrington, Jen Schaller. Her name is not spelled the way it's pronounced. Ambra McNeil and Anne Sillaboy. And then the brains table that's running all of this. We have Alex, Julian, and Alan, and Jeff.
I'm here.
Oh, there's Jeff. And I don't think that I've missed anybody. Certainly Bob walking in, myself, Blair, oh, Terry. And I'm sure there will be folks trickling in. So I just wanted to, of course, acknowledge, and if you haven't seen some new faces before, hopefully you have a time in between breaks and throughout the sessions to get to know folks here today. And likewise for communities as well, represented communities here today. Nice to see everybody, and it's very good. Our theme for the symposium is closing the gap, and closing the gap that has certainly been widened by COVID and a lot of interruption of learning in our communities. We have sat down with principals tables, directors tables to come up with the most appropriate theme for this year. Certainly a lot of our programs are part of this priority. We know Mi'kmaq language continues to be the #1 priority of everything that we do. But really supporting our students emotionally and academically in this recovery. So what do we need to focus on? What do we need to strengthen to make sure that we rebuild our students and close that gap that has been left as a result of COVID and interrupted learning? I wanted to review the agenda here for today and the next couple of days. So we have, of course, happening now is the review. We have 4 presentations today: Bear River, Glooscap, Pictou Landing, Eskasoni. We'll have an active break, and our active break facilitators are James and Kim. So it's supposed to be engaging and fun. We will also be doing a draw, as always. We have a lot of the swag here. We'll probably do like 10 draws today, 20 tomorrow, 15 the next day, whatever the number is. But the prize today, the main prizes are Apple Watch, iPad, and iPhone 13 Pro. No, not Pro. Budget. But we'll kick it off with a 8th generation iPad today. The rules are, you must be in the room to win. Right? Let's set some ground rules for that. You must be in the room to win. We will not disadvantage you by doing it right before or after break. It will be at the end of each day or, whatever that is. MK staff are not eligible to be in the draw, just in case you didn't know. Back me up, community. So, and it is upon you to enter into the draw. So Giselle will collect all the names at break time and, figure it out. So don't forget, use the paper that's on the desk. I also wanted to share, if we can just get right back on task here. I wanted to share that our discussion over the next few days comes with a lot of planning, comes with a lot of consideration over the last couple of months. And I hope every day to share a little piece of that story with you. So I'm not going to put all my cards out on the table today, but every single day. We have a presentation today led by Laura McNeil. She is with the Wamako community on mental wellness. So we'll do that immediately after break and then get into discussion. The break today will be early. So what time is it right now? 1:27. So we will do a break after two communities present. We will come back and listen to the other two communities, get right into the keynote, and then do our active discussion. It is critical that we figure this out during break, that there is at least 2 or 3 representatives from MK at each table to record the discussion. And if that is not happening here, then we need to shift that around. So maybe do that during break. We have a sign-up sheet, and the sign-up sheet here starts probably tomorrow, May 17th. We have spots, and Jane Meter will be doing ceremony with folks who do sign up. The sign-up sheet will be left at the front. That's complete fairness, rather than put it, circulate it by table. So I'm going to put it here up front at the break, and you feel free to sign up. I wanted to also celebrate Bahankek, who is here. They have always been here. They have always been part of course, MK and its symposium, but this year is very different for them. In September 2021, they opened their doors to a new P2-3 education center. And so they're coming here, we're treating it as the first symposium ever. And I don't know where Tanya is, but I'm very excited to hear from her today. Wonderful. We're gonna knock our socks off, Tanya. I know. You'll also notice that on the luggage cart in the back of the room are COVID tests. You're welcome to take one and test as you will. It's not required, but these are excess tests that have been at MK for a little while. I do want to put a disclaimer on those tests. It is the short swab, so we recommend just testing your nose, not your throat. You could do your cheeks, I guess, but just be advised that it's a short swab. Take one test, take 2, take 3. Doesn't matter to me. Take a crate if you want a crate. But we're just trying to offload some of those extra tests that we got from the province. Everything must go. Community profiles are being distributed this afternoon. So if you haven't received yours yet, Gloria will bring them to your table. And I also wanted to acknowledge some devastating news today that we learned about last week. And it is the community of Bear River has suffered a devastating fire. It displaces, of course, their community operations and students who learned on the top floor of the band office completely. The building is gone. And so keep Bear River in our hearts and in our minds as they plan to rebuild and to bring students back to finish off the school year. And certainly a lot of motivation your way, Bear River, to come out of this as smoothly as you can. I think that's it for my welcome, but I did want to reflect on tomorrow's, the questions here. So the questions that we will be asking at the discussion table following the presentation is, what are some specific mental wellness activities and training that you think your communities need? So we've heard it, right? That communities are saying, mental wellness of students, mental wellness of teachers, we're suffering. But what does it mean when you say that? What are the ideas that you can help us provide to us so that we can provide those services to your community or create the partnerships and foster those relationships that are existing? Can you go to tomorrow's agenda? Day 2, I think we start at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. just hits different, right? Oh, 7:30, we have a breakfast starting and buffet breakfast. So that's really nice. We have 3 community presentations in the morning with Sibignegadik, Bahangek, and Acadia. Again, the sequence of that can be changed at any time. Just come see me. We will have another active break. We will have a Mi'kmaq language presentation as well as discussion questions. Pictou Landing will do their literacy presentations along with the discussion questions that we have planned below. We'll break for lunch. When we come back, 2 community presentations. I know it says 3, but it's 2. Wegoma and Annapolis Valley. We have a tech presentation from Allison Bernard Memorial High School, and then another active break. And then we get right back into that discussion again. Ooh.
No, I don't know what happened there, sorry.
It's okay. So the questions that we'll ask is, how do we begin to make conversational Mi'kmaq a priority in our communities? What are some specific things that you'd like to see in a new Mi'kmaq curriculum? So we've heard we need curriculum. We're committed to building a new curriculum. What is it that you would like to see in there? How do we integrate Mi'kmaq language into every classroom? And this is the belief that Mi'kmaq language revitalization, it is not up to the 1 or 2 individuals in your school who teach it. It is up to every single teacher, Mi'kmaq or non-Mi'kmaq, to promote it. And so how do we support that with resources? How do we support that with training and development? How do we do that? How can we support communities as they work to close the gap created by a lack of in-person instruction over the last 2 years? And that's different for every community because some communities were more impacted by that than others. What are some ways that we can address the attendance issue in our school? And we've heard that time and time again, that attendance is one of those key factors that relates to student performance. So if attendance is lacking, then it affects performance. How do we bring that back? We've always maintained a 90+% attendance. That is not the reflection today, but we know why. So how do we bring that back to that once standing 90% or better? How can we build and encourage the home and school connection? How do we engage parents? This was a big one this year. Parent engagement, parent engagement. So we're asking the question, what specifics can you share around how MK could help you do that? And then, so that's day 2, very fun. Look forward to that. Day 3, and while Julian brings that up, we're going to have Post-its at the table tomorrow. We know some folks are just not comfortable moving around and things like that. So we're not going to make it so that it's required. So we're going to place, you know, Post-its, and then you share them back. The note takers will be at your tables to handle all of that. Breakfast buffet again, Wednesday morning, 7:30. We start off at 9 o'clock with 3 community presentations, Wamakuk, Budladek, and Member 2. Again, the order will be determined as you come up and see me. We'll have an active break, and then we're going to present to you the MK strategic plan and sort of the process that we did to arrive at that plan, and how there's still an opportunity to inform our plans for year 1, certainly, to see, you know, if you want to make any special requests or changes, we're going to allow that. You know, just because this was intentionally and originally for March, and just because COVID has ruined that, we don't want to take away from that opportunity that we first intended to do. Okay, and then we will wrap up at 12 o'clock with a lunch, prizes, giveaway, all that fun stuff. I don't know, I guess we'll save the phone for day 3. So Apple Watch will be tomorrow, but I'm sure it's the newest Apple Watch, right? So it's still a good prize. Day 1 agenda, again, sorry. I'm just testing them. They said, this is the best setup we've ever had. I'm like, okay.
Doesn't mean we're as prepared as we should be.
And just for your information, if your communities are watching, this is live streamed on YouTube, right? So you can go to the Atlantic Canada's First Nation Help Desk YouTube page, and I'm sure you'll see it there. So we have cameras all along the side of the room. Your microphones at your table will work on demand. So just kind of do that and then it'll magically work. Thanks to our help at Basil. All right, so we're going to get started. As I said, we're going to sneak in a break between 2 community presentations and then continue on the day. So I know we're ahead of time a little bit, and we'll likely wrap up before 4:30. We'll see. We'll see. We'll go easy. All right, so if I can get Bear River, Lorraine, and Gloria, right? Oh, Julian, to bring that presentation up. Wonderful. All right, Rain, do you want to come behind here? Just watch the wires.
Good afternoon, everyone. Of course, she announced that I was Lorraine. It's a really difficult time. I didn't think I would be able to even come up and talk, but Dr. Sherry Pecto showed up, and she's the district chief and also works out of Dalhousie Law. And she is our band member, who we are very proud of. So of course, our chief and council are probably home busy trying to figure out everything that needs to be done. And I'll do the best I can with this presentation. I know that we are focusing on closing the gap, which I know that during COVID and everything being so far apart and canceled with a lot of things that once things opened up, we tried hard to get our children back to doing the things that they would ordinarily do, which is kind of weird right now because half of our school will be in limbo right now because the grades 3 to 7 were at the band hall. So I will continue. Bear River, Elsik-Cook, Mi'kmaq First Nation. We provide holistic education that promotes good health, holistic success, social development, and pride in our Mi'kmaq culture. Although we struggle with limited funding to support extracurricular and supports activities for our students, Chief Carol D. Potter, Counselor Carol Ann Potter, Robert McEwen, and Fred Harlow are strong advocates within our education department and do their best to ensure the education of our students. In 2020-2021, at our Moonsoo band-operated school daycare, we have 36 students and 15 students at the non-band operating schools off reserve. We had 4 graduates from grade 12, 6 preschool, 13 after school, 11 students at the P to 6 class, 6 homeschooled, and 16 post-secondary students. In 2021-2022, this is where I always get confused which year we're supposed to be promoting, so I always put both of them in. So we have 46 students at our band-operated school. I can't see what's over there. No, it's just at the end there. And so many in our daycare and 13 at our non-band operated schools off reserve. We have 2 possible graduates from grade 12 this year, 10 preschool, 15 after school, 12 students are in the P to 7 class, 4 homeschooled, 23 post-secondary. Our partners in education include Mi'kmaq, Kina'matnewey, Annapolis Valley Regional School Board, Tri-County Regional School Board, Schools Plus, Atlantic Canada First Nation Help Desk, the Confederation of Mainland Mi'kmaq, MKSIS, Provincial School Board Rep, Annapolis Valley Regional School Board, Mi'kmaq Family and Children's Services of Nova Scotia, RCMP Annapolis and Digby Detachment, Department of Labor and Advanced Education. And I have a tendency to forget our fire department in Bear River, which this fire has caused me to really remember that a lot of our staff are members of the Bear River Fire Department. And they also come up and put on educational things for the students. Our programs during the 2020, I got that wrong there. And I'll just go on to the end. And 2021-2022 school year include preschool, Head Start, daycare, after school program, Bear River First Nation, Annapolis Valley Regional School Board, math tutoring, mentoring programs, school lunch program, Red Road Project, youth rec night, boxing, family and school, skating, swimming, and lacrosse. And it wouldn't be in this presentation, but we do have someone now working with our youth for the games, I believe that's what it is. So we have a lot of activity happening. Here are respected.
It skips a page.
Okay.
It goes to page 4.
Okay, this is our respected elder, Agnes Potter. in the middle beside that beautiful one there, Lorraine. And this is all of her family. And of course, Bear River has taken on the Pines. So this was held at the Pines. She was 82 there. This is our graduation last June. And of course, Rain is the first one.
Icebreakers.
Here, the chief and council and youth and respected elder we were all down to Digby. This was the first time that a flag was held or erected in Digby that represents Bear River. Bear River and Digby are only like 20 kilometers. And this was the first time that they've ever recognized our community. And because of COVID restrictions, we couldn't have the whole community. There was only representation. Here is Rain. They had an outing for the school one day and there was restrictions. Rain isn't able to attend just anything because she has problems with her back and other health issues. So they let her take a trip on her own so that she wouldn't be left out. So we went to Liverpool and visited different places. So she was real excited to be able to compare herself with these monuments. This here must be our graduation. The chief and counselor. Yeah, the drive-by. This must be an app day. Okay, this is story time for the P to 7 class. There's certain times that the classes get together into one room and have activities. So the primary to grade 2 are at the daycare center in the basement, and the and the 3 to 7 were at the band hall. So here it looks like they're all together at the band hall having story time. Okay, this is outdoor culture classroom. Story submitted by Rebecca Sikarko, MK Wellness Consultant, on October 27th, 2021. So she delivered our first wellness outdoor cultural classroom as a land-based learning experience in the community of Bear River. And of course, this was a TP erected by Todd Labrador a few years ago. Which at times this is where they go and do a lot of their learning or story times. The next one was about Every Child Matters. Okay, yeah. Red Road Coordinator, Michael R. Denny. We love it when Michael comes down. Especially Rain. Rain really is taken with Michael. And so here, knowledge, he's an in-house knowledge keeper. It was a privilege to learn alongside the students of Bear River the teachings that Michael R. shared. So, no, keep going. It's okay. I think that's one we already did, isn't it? No. That's the Every Child Matters one. Okay, here's Michael R. showing them how to skin an eel. Here they are doing archery. And this is doing some kind of bows. This is one of our, this is the chief's son, Royden Messer, and they were preparing their annual harvest festival. So he was at the cookhouse preparing the wood fire and meals. This is a couple of children sitting by the fire. Up top is Michael R. Denny. And of course, you can see Rain with the long hair. She's right into it. And then later down there, her and another student were actually trying to do it themselves. This is still all a part of it where they're all, it was amazing how many community members, even the people that just were around that were fascinated with Michael's presentation. Of course, there was some drumming and dance, an information booth on environment, GED upgrading, etc. There was also archery and spearheading. This is Fire Prevention Week, a visit from the Bear River Fire Department. Oh, this is the first aid training. The students had first aid training. This is a hike to the river. This is Lusky in the making. Cooking sessions. This is the P to 7 took a trip to Halifax to the, they attended the Discovery Center, the Atlantic Museum, and attended GLOW. So these are the pictures from GLOW. This is our annual Christmas. Of course, this year was the drive-through. Last year and this year was a drive-through Christmas where Santa delivered sneakers to every child. This is snowshoeing and learning to skate. This is a medicine pouch workshop. And this was submitted by Emily Carmen. She's a teacher at the school. So we have a section where they can go play sports. So when there was all this snow, she would have taken them there and got them to create this in the snow. Yep.
Are these yours? Right. Olali Bear River. Up next, Sheila Francis. Amen. Do you want to skip or what's your preference? I know. Okay, all right, so we'll invite Irene, Haley, and Kim maybe to come up and share their presentation. Yay. All right.
So nice to see everyone in person. So Pictou Landing did this a little differently this year. And so what we decided to do is we gave the task of introducing our new school to our grade 3-4 class. And they made a little short film about it. So the film is, and I'll tell you the premise that they decided on. No, it's fine. It just caught the corner of my eye. Is that we're welcoming a new student to school and we're going to take them on a tour of the school. The students are. The students filmed this. They wrote the script. They edited it. I'm still alive after all that. So that's good. And the student they're inviting in is named MK. So we're inviting MK into our school. I know. So it's about 8 minutes and thank you very much. Enjoy. I hope you enjoy it. At some point we will have a real grand opening.
Hi, I'm Elias. Come on in. Hello, this is PLF in school, and you can, and we have all sorts of teachers like Kim, Nadine, Lacey, Todd, Mike, Laura, and Melinda, and Jackie. Hi, I'm Kane. This is our grade 5-6 classroom. It's the teacher of our classroom, Lacey. Hi, I'm Kay. This is our speaking language teacher. Her name is Melanie.
Hi, I'm Kay.
We're going to introduce you to our special ed teacher, Janet.
Hi, I'm Kay.
Okay, this is our cafeteria. This is our cafeteria. We have all our tables spread out. Here's where we get our lunch. Okay, this is our kitchen staff, Emma and Irene. Come on, MK, I'll show you. Our playground. You can see zip lines, teeter totter, slide, and swings. And over there is the court. Come on, MK. Come on, MK. Let's go. Let's go to zip line. I'll teach you out. This is our grade 7 classroom. Come on, MK. All right, I'm recording. Now we're at stage. Okay, I'll show you something too. Where the teachers go.
Come on. Look at this team of directors.
Hi, MK.
Hi, MK.
Come on, MK.
Oh. Everybody wave.
We love our gym. And we even have a stage.
Come on, MK. I'll show you something. This is PLFN school. weeks ago, we taped our principal to the wall of the gym.
Glad they let you off. That was so nice. Thank you to all your students who, that was so cool. It was so, so cool. All right, up next we have a break. So we'll break for 20 minutes. We'll give a little bit of time just because we saved some time today. So back here at, I don't even have 2:30.
And write down your guys' name. I'll pick them up after my smoke.
Don't forget your names.
Using a. Yeah, it was just. Yeah, 'cause Okay, so are you after this break? Yeah. Yeah, we're good now.
We're good now. Ooh, do those online win a prize? What? Do they have to be in the room? Oh. I'll go with the majority, I guess.
What are we voting on?
All right, so we're going to welcome our next presentation, and that's Glooscap, Marilyn, and her colleague Lily. Oh, that's pretty. Love the watercolors. Michelle just trying on all the clothes. Model. All right, so let's get the presentation done with Glooscap. All right, ladies, do you? Oh, another name, thank you.
Take that back out. Hi, good afternoon, Quay. For those that don't know me, I'm Marilyn Perkins. I'm the Education Officer for Glooscap First Nation. I've been asked, or I've asked a young youth from our community to do a presentation on her participation in the Truth and Reconciliation Maui Omi that took place at Acadia University in early September. Over the 5 days, Mi'kmaq culture was on display throughout the campus and the town of Wolfville. It was in partnership between Acadia, Glooscap, and the town of Wolfville. Due to the COVID-19, the community was not invited because they had a widespread of COVID. The president was going to cancel it, but somehow we managed to get in and he kept it. So it was only for the university students. So it is my pleasure to invite Lily Bass to the podium to talk about this symposium as what she was doing in relation to cultural, Mi'kmaq culture. Okay.
Hello. Quay, bonjour, hello. Good afternoon, Grand Chief Norman, Grand Council members, chiefs, education directors, MK staff, and guests. My name is Lily Beth Fisher. I am 13 years old, and I live in Glooscap First Nation. I am the daughter of Richard and Sandy Lynn Fisher, and the granddaughter of Ken and Darlene Peters Copeland. I'm a previous recipient of the MK Chief Noel Doucette Award, the Sammy Jean Achievement Award, and the Glooscap Nature Award. I am a daughter, a sister, a granddaughter, a niece, a friend, a climate change activist, an amateur beekeeper, a fancy shawl dancer, a junior marine biologist with the Turnout Club, a basketball and volleyball player, an honor student, and an aspiring artist. Slide 2. I've been attending events at Acadia University from a young age. I've danced at their previous Maui Omi. Yes, thank you. And I've attended their Sisters in Spirit events annually. I was asked to host a climate change strikes with the students at Acadia University in years past. Slide 3. There we go. On the left, I'm speaking at the Acadia Climate Change event, and on the right, I'm at the Acadia Care Gala 2021. In September of 2021, I was asked if I was interested in creating a mural at Acadia University with a well-known Inuit artist and now my friend, Joe Glode. I agreed, and we had a couple of, no.
Did I go ahead too fast?
Yeah, look, it's fine, it's fine.
I'll wait for you from now on.
To discuss and give ideas about the future mural. The idea would be to show a seasonal timeline with our people doing traditional activities throughout the year. This is done with the guidance of Acadia Elder in Residence, Joe Mike. This mural was to be unveiled during the Truth Before Reconciliation Maui from September 30th to October 4th, 2021, co-hosted by Gleescap First Nation at Acadia at the Clock Park in Wolfville, where lots of Indigenous knowledge and experiences were to be shared over the 5 days, including what I've known as an Innu girl or now know. Slide 4. Thank you. Our first meeting was at the Acadia's KCIC, where 2 giant boards sat covered in little notes written by college students who ideas of the future that could help Indigenous students. This was covered in a white coat of paint, ready to be covered. We started with simple colors: green hills with tall grass, light blue skies with puffy white clouds, snow on the far left side, and a vibrant blue river at the bottom of the boards. We worked on making trees in each season: a bare tree with snow in the winter, a blooming tree in spring, a puffy one in the summer, and a dark red wilting tree in the fall. Slide 5. In slide 5, Gerald and I were both planning to get work, and we were both interviewed for a short film for Acadia University about the mural on Truth and Reconciliation. After we finished the trees, I suggested to Gerald if we could try putting the sun arching from the far hills in spring and the moon high in fall. This idea came from how our culture, grandfather sun watches us more in the spring and summer, and grandmother moon watches more in the fall and winter. Gerald started creating teepees to slowly form a small village nuzzled into the spring and summer parts. Slide 6. On the left, we're working on putting colors into the background, and on the right, we're working on the fine details. Gerald brought some pictures of his rendering of animals, people doing activities, and plants. Some of the activities that the people were presenting were hunting, ice fishing, elders teaching children, collecting birchwood and sweetgrass, creating canoes, and more. Slide 7. Yeah, thank you. On the left, I'm with Cody Bullis, I think, not good at pronouncing, MP and Gerald Glode. And on the right, I'm with Quinn Sillaboy unveiling his piece, Amicably Departed. During the Maui, I was also privileged to have met and helped inspire the Innu artist Quentin Sillaboy's piece, Amicably Departed. This was a symbol for the gathering. Slide 8. I don't know if there is time, but here is a video.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Try to exit out of the slideshow, but I have to keep that.
In the Mi'kmaq culture, everything is in a constant state of flux. Teaching someone young to see things through Mi'kmaq eyes, it's going to change the next generation.
Having the mural being displayed and having all of the events, it helps resolve some of the issues by them showing their awareness and their support, and we can learn from the past and better ourselves overall.
Education got us into this mess, and it's education that will get us out of it. It's a quote from Murray Sinclair, who, of course, was the chief architect of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the calls to action. It really resonated with me that education got us into this mess, and it's education that will get us out of it. It's so important for a university like Acadia to be doing this, because when you look at us, we look so traditional. And so us making that statement that a new relationship with Indigenous people is important for 21st century education, that's a really important thing for us to say.
Prior to this class, I hadn't really learned a lot about Mi'kmaq culture. And I have to say from my knowledge now that it wasn't really a great representation of what Mi'kmaq culture is. And I think it's really great to see so many amazing initiatives really encouraging Acadia faculty, staff, and students to really get out there make their peace, unlearn and learn, and just get an education on the Indigenous ways of knowledge.
It gives us an opportunity to pass on this knowledge to non-natives. And I think people like Dr. Cynthia Alexander, she sees the importance and that the connection can make. And she values the input that the Aboriginals have for the students that come through here. And this is a relationship that's been going on now for at least 2 decades. And it hasn't slowed down. Mawiomi is the true word for gathering. And to portray these events that they hold here in the school as Mawiomi, that shows respect. It's a very diverse place, and they recognize Mi'kmaq as being a part of this place.
When I came to naming the mural, Gerald Glode left that responsibility to me. I decided to name the mural before. This is because Mi'kmaq was this before any contact, before the Europeans, before residential schools impacted the Indigenous people of Canada, and before the climate crisis. We hope that future students will reflect off the mural and take inspiration for their ideas that might help change our future. When it came to our signatures, I suggested to Gerald if we put a traditional marking or identifier. For Gerald, we chose to put a wolffish jumping out from the river because the Glode family is part of the wolffish clan, and a lily pad floating nearby me to represent me, as my great uncle Basil would call me. Slide 9. Sorry. It's unfortunate that due to COVID restrictions on campus, I've yet to see its spot in the Beveridge Arts Center at Acadia. And here I'm presenting the mural to Acadia University Dean of Arts, Dr. Laura Robinson. I want to thank you all for coming here today and listening to me ramble for a while. I want to thank Gerald Glode, Elder Joe Mike, Dr. Cynthia Alexander, and our Acadia students. Thank you to Goosecow First Nation Chief and Council. They supported, guided, taught me, and inspired me. I want to give a special thanks to you, Marilyn Perkins, also known as Great Aunt Mick, for presenting me with this opportunity to talk here today. I also want to thank my parents and family, especially my strong Illinois women role models, my mom, my nana, my auntie. They've helped me get to where I am and helped me to continue to grow. Walaliuk.
Oh, I got chills. Oh, 13 years old, like unbelievable. Amazing. Wala diag, Lily. She is the mover and the shaker of the future, right? Like, oh, I'm just so inspired. Beautiful, beautiful. Humnusk. Up next, we have Eskasoni, and I'll welcome Elizabeth Cremo to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. It was like tough act to follow. Please don't put me after the kid. Please don't put me after the kid. I don't know what I did to Blair, but she put me right after the kid. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Cremo. I'm the Director of Education for the Eskasoni School Board in the Eskasoni First Nation. Oh, you guys can't see me? Wait. I'll put stuff down. All right. This year, I was hoping to go after Darren. Everybody looks good after Darren. this year, the theme was closing the gap. And when I spoke with the administrators and the staff at my schools, we were talking about the gaps that come this year. The first one you think about is the academic gaps that come from the pandemic, but there are so many gaps that we have to address now because of the pandemic. One of the things that really hit home for me was when we all started talking about the gaps and how we're going to move forward in education in Eskasoni. We were talking about how we have students right now in grade 1 who went through kindergarten and primary and who are now in grade 1 who've never experienced school outside of the pandemic. So when we're all talking about getting back to normal, this is normal for some kids. And so we have to be very mindful moving forward that when we get back to the normal that we're looking forward to, it's going to be jarring for some of the kids in our system. So when we started talking about this and how we're going to move forward, we started talking about academically. We're going to start planning a hard reset in our board, and we're going to revisit processes and procedures, meet regularly to optimize contact time. I know at our elementary and middle school, they've already added an extra period to the day so that we get more meaningful contact time. But just like the kids who have never experienced pre-pandemic schooling, we really have to recognize that we've been adapting and changing for years now, and we haven't had a normal school year. So to go back into that, we're all going to need to acclimate in, not just the students, but the staff too. And so we're taking time to set up systems to ensure that all of our students and staff are supported in getting back to their best routines. We're investing in after-school activities that'll support language and culture, academics, and wellness. And as you guys are presenting, I'm furiously writing things down. So I want to thank Rain, especially for nap day. Oh my God. I didn't even think of that, but I know I'll get buy-in when I take that one back home. And PLFN, zip lines. Oh my God, like chart the course and get there quick. So as we're thinking about like wellness activities and academics and culture and language, we're trying to be very mindful that all of our opportunities that we have to be with our students, we're making the best of them. So we did in Eskasoni put a call out to the organizations that we partner with. Over the summer, a lot of the organizations in Eskasoni have summer camps. So we've put out a call to say that we'll work with the summer camps to help. If they show us their activities, we'll help them tie it to education and make those activities meaningful. And even if we know what happened, then when we come back in September, our staff will have things to draw on that the kids experienced over the summer, and we can tie it to curriculum. We're also partnering to create activities and resuming things that we've kind of let go over the pandemic. So we're looking at academic boot camps again over the summer to help our graduates, give them that boost they're going to need for September. We're returning to sports, community groups, and cultural activities. We haven't had the rich experiences of the past. We've been meeting with our elders virtually and not in person. And that goes for our knowledge keepers as well. So we're looking forward to going back to that. And we're very thankful for the before and after school program dollars that we have. The teachers are already like looking at ways that they can start before and after school activities. But I think the biggest news that we got over the past year in closing the gap was the okay and the go ahead for our new school to begin construction in Eskasoni. That's super exciting for me. The renos and retrofits that's going to go with all of our schools once our high school moves into a new space will give all of our students a space to access programming and activities that we currently struggle to do now in such tight quarters. When it comes to closing the gap, though, we're going to take our lead from our students who over the past few years have shown us resiliency. They've shown us how to survive and thrive. They've worked around mandates and shutdowns to keep going and work towards their passions, work towards their dreams and goals. And I think we can all take a lesson from that. So on that, I'd like to show ABMHS's video. It's called I Want to Rise. It was released in July. There were big plans to put this video forward, but COVID kept getting in the way. And we had those small gathering groups, all of those mandates, but all the time, the students were working around ways to get it done, working safely within the mandates. So I just wanted to leave off and show the video that our high school produced this year.
I dream at night of the city lights, the sights and the sounds and the feel of the wind in my hair, the open road, and the stars in the sky as my wheel. From the hills to the shore of this little town, my heart aches for what could be. So close, it's so far away to me. And I can't wait for all the world to see. I wanna rise, I wanna fly, spread my wings, leave the ground and touch the sky. I wanna walk this path, this winding road with you. I wanna rise like an eagle in flight, out of the dark, take back the night, bring your voice into the light. I wanna rise. These are the days that hearts can break, and this is the time and the place. I don't know what to think, what to say, how to feel, what is real and what is fake. Can you hear me scream? Can you hear me roar? Can you see me? I'm right here with my heart on my sleeve and my hands in the air. And I can't wait to meet you when I'm there. I wanna rise, I wanna fly, spread my wings, leave the ground and touch the sky. I wanna walk this path, this winding road with you. I wanna rise like an eagle in flight, out of the dark, take back the night, bring your voice into the light. I wanna rise. I wanna Two rays of light shine bright in the night for all the world to see. From the stars in the sky to the clouds above, to the depths of the deep blue sea. Can you feel my breath on the wind tonight? Can you hear my voice in the air? Wherever you go, I'll be there. I wanna rise, I wanna fly, spread my wings, leave the ground and touch the sky. I wanna walk this path, this winding road with you. I wanna rise the night. Bring your voice into the light. I wanna rise, I wanna fly. Spread my wings, leave the ground and touch the sky. I wanna walk this path, this winding road with you. I wanna rise like an eagle in flight, out of the dark, take back the night. Bring your voice into the light. Spread my wings and take flight. I wanna rise.
Oh, wilt dig, wilt dig. Oh. Little deep, huh? Yes. I'm gonna do 4 names and then they're gonna come up here and duel. Good. Oh, wala niya kasi Sonny. Up next we have Laura. If I can invite Laura to come and share her presentation. As I mentioned earlier this afternoon, Laura's with Wamakuk. And do you have her slides?
I do.
Okay, good. All right, welcome, Laura. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Let me start sharing my screen.
Sure.
Did you find the clicker on?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Gui. I'm Laura McNeil, and I'm the school psychologist for Wamakuk School, which includes our alternative program and our daycare and preschool program. Normally, during non-pandemic times, my role is really focused on doing assessments and supporting special education at our school. However, during online learning, we had to do a little bit of a shift. So, we recognize that students have been through so much over the past 2 years. There's been periods of social isolation, quarantine orders. There's been missed milestones and learning. I remember one student who was in high school, he was so excited to get his driver's license and he had the test date all scheduled. And then COVID came along and it had to be canceled and rescheduled like 2 or 3 times. So that really important milestone, just as an example of getting your license, that was really delayed for him and so frustrating. Not to mention the cancellation of important events and extracurricular activities. Even, graduation had to look really different. So all of these big things that we as adults, took for granted when we were teens, they've been interrupted for our students. There's also been, a lot more stress put on families. So that's caused a lot of challenges, as well as, the unpredictability of this whole situation. I mean, even today, I don't know if 3 weeks from now, will we be doing online learning, in-person learning? So, and that's hard on us as adults. So imagine if you're a little kid and you're just really not sure what's going to expect day to day, what to expect, from day to day, week to week. There's also been a lot less contact for our students with what we consider to be buffering supports. So whether that's, the school breakfast program or teachers, after school programs, all those things, they've had a lot less of the past 2 years. And all of that together can have a really serious toll on youth mental health. And the research backs that up as well. So adolescent mental health problems and substance use have understandably, that's risen since the beginning of the pandemic.
Over this way.
Okay, thanks. And then when we were doing e-learning, there's some specific stressors that go along with that. Students told us that there was a lot more distractions at home, whether that was other siblings or pets or what have you. It was a lot harder for them to focus on their learning. There could be issues around space. We had, some families that have lots of kids. Well, everyone's trying to get around the one dining room table to do their lesson, but then that's quite distracting when there's other classes going on. Disrupted sleep schedules. So I don't know if this was your experience, but we found that a lot of students, they just started developing this habit of staying up really late, sleeping in, and then they would be missing classes. And so there was a lot of challenges around sleep. Sometimes we had internet connection problems during e-learning, other technology issues. I remember this one student who was really good with her online attendance, but then she stopped going for a couple days. We were wondering what was going on. And it turned out that her little toddler sibling had smashed her iPad accidentally, broke it. And so then she was kind of out of luck, right? It was hard for her to get to class. So a lot of those types of stressors. With e-learning, it's a lot more pressure on students and parents to do work independently without the support of a teacher right there in the room with them, which we know some kids just really need that support. Also, for a lot of especially our teens, during class videos, they wouldn't turn on their video feed. You just see a little profile picture type thing. And so yeah, technically we're all together in this class, but if I can't see your faces, that social connection isn't quite as strong. And yeah, so overall, many of our students said that they found e-learning to be harder and more stressful than in-person learning. Now, I will say that doesn't go for everyone. There actually were a handful of kids that were like, no, I prefer this. Let's keep this going. Often students maybe who had social anxiety, or maybe there was bullying going on at school, or they already had a kind of disrupted sleep schedule. So some of them actually liked it. However, it did make it harder for those students when we came back to school. Oh. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there was just a lot of challenges for us to face. And we also recognized that different families had different needs. So we took a tiered approach to supporting mental wellness. So we've got that triangle at the bottom there. So there's some things that we put in place for all students. That was the green on the bottom there. And then some things that we put in place for some students, and then some more high level support that we offered to those who really needed it. Okay, so we wanted to make sure that we were giving our students and the families a lot of resources and ideas for how to cope with stress. Most of us, we've picked up ways to cope with stress along the years, but it's not something that there's, really a manual for. A lot of our students just didn't really know what to do with all of this, anxiety, all the emotions they were feeling around the lockdown. So we, at the very beginning of the pandemic, created some written documents for a lot of documents, like a letter to students and families that described different ways of coping, and we made sure to include lots of crisis contact information for them. We had tips that were just specific for parents and kind of parenting through a pandemic type tips. We had tips that were specific for kids and teens. So we had that was a lot of pictures in that document. We also sent out strategies for staff, because we know that staff have stress too. So we made sure to send out resources for them. I also created some documents just specific to staying on track with e-learning, because we were at different points in time kind of losing some students. They would just kind of drop off. So tips for them. And then other specific resources just as needed. So for example, for a student with a OCD in our school, like a germ-related OCD, Well, this was extra hard for him. The whole pandemic has been very hard. So we wanted to make sure that we had resources in place for him, for students on the autism spectrum, and so on. So we sent out a lot of written documents, but we wanted to make videos as well, because especially for our younger students or people who are more visual learners, we wanted to make sure that they had a way to access the same information. So I was added as a teacher on Seesaw classrooms, and I was able to post videos directly there. Students really said that they enjoyed them and also shared them more widely as well. I was also invited as a guest speaker to Google Meets as needed, and I would come and do a talk on whatever topic the teacher was interested in, or I would suggest some topics. Those included like how to do deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, the difference between stress and anxiety, growth mindset. So I really enjoyed those classroom visits. And in terms of our junior high, we already had one teacher who has a regular Wellness Wednesday set up. So I just slid right into that. So every Wednesday, and we've carried that on. I meet with the grade 7s and the grade 8s and the grade 9s, and we do a different wellness activity. Okay, and we really wanted to make sure that staff had the right kind of background and mindset going into this as well, because knowledge is power. So we wanted to make sure that they really understood the impact of COVID-related stress on their learning and so on. So we did a half-day PD session for staff, and that covered topics such as like kind of a summary of the research so far on the effects of the pandemic, because they're quite striking. Like the rates have gone up significantly. We talked about which students may be extra vulnerable to COVID-19 stress, signs, how to recognize signs that a student might be struggling, how do we help students get extra support if we've identified them as somebody who looks like they need it, and a big focus on self-care and how to support each other. We also did weekly PD sessions for our EAs. Those covered a variety of topics such as anxiety disorders, behavior, and ADHD. And one of my favorite things was our virtual healthy coping groups. So we held those throughout all of e-learning. So it was optional for students in grades 6 to 12, and we had them broken up into different age groups, but students were able to just drop in. I facilitated it with our local youth outreach worker. So we were able to just kind of be social, talk about different ways of coping, but it was really informal and fun. And I think that was probably the most important part for them, was coming together in a purely social context with no expectations for homework or grading. It was just a place for us to be together and support each other. So the students really enjoyed that. We also, with a lot of help from our youth outreach worker, created coping kits or wellness kits that we sent to our youth. So they all got a personalized package. It had a variety of things in the package, such as sage, a self-care medicine wheel magnet, some art supplies, stress balls, snacks, frisbee, and so on. So that was a lot of fun. The kids really liked getting their coping kits. And we encouraged them, of course, to add to their coping kits, add things that they already have that's soothing. And that way, if they're stressed out, often when we're really stressed out, like the thinking part of our brain sort of shuts off, and it's hard to remember what's soothing to me, what helps me calm down. So if you have it all in one kit, that can be really handy. So we had a lot of fun making those for the students and getting them to keep adding to them. We knew that some students were going to just need more support. So I was always available, and I still am available to all of our school community by phone, email, video call. So there were certain students that were, had higher needs in terms of their stress level or their mental health. So we would just have, regular video, one-on-one video calls. And I think those were really helpful. And with some families, they preferred to just email. So I just said, whatever works for you. I also, a big part of my job is writing funding requests for Jordan's principal. So that's another way to help families get the resources that they need to cope during these times. And we had really strong partnerships with outside service agencies just to make sure that no students were falling between the cracks. So like regular contact with early developmental interventionists, EIBI, mental health, youth outreach, and so on. So it was, I was kind of that point person for a lot of these other agencies, and we could make referrals to them as needed. All right, so as I mentioned, this has been a really hard 2 years on our teaching staff. And there's a big risk of burnout for teachers and administration because of the pressure that they're under. They might have their lesson plan ready to go for in-person, and then whoop, get a work package together for next week. And then, okay, next week you're gonna be here, you're gonna be online. So much going on for staff who often had their own families at home that were either, with young children doing e-learning or so on. So we really wanted to make sure that we carved out time and prioritized our staff mental health. Because I love the quote, "You can't pour from an empty cup." So to be able to really best support our students, we needed to make sure that our staff were well supported also. So each week I held an optional staff mindfulness session. It was a virtual session where we came together for those who were interested, and we talked about and practiced mindfulness techniques together. And so mindfulness, for those of you who aren't aware, it's really all about bringing your attention to the present moment in a non-judgmental way. And regular practice has been shown to reduce stress. So it was nice, I think, team building. We had a lot of laughs and also practiced a really valuable skill. So in summary, what worked for us in Wamacook? We made sure that students and families were given lots of information and resources related to coping with stress. We made sure staff had a really good understanding of students' mental health needs. Teachers, they really made time and space for mental health during e-learning, which I really appreciated because I knew that they were under such a crunch to fit all the curriculum in, but they really understood, no, this is worth the time. Please come visit my class. So that was fantastic. Staff self-care was promoted and encouraged and recognized as being really important. And we had those good partnerships with other helpers in the community. And what did we learn? It sure does take a village to help support students getting through these difficult times. And it was helpful to have one staff person whose main role was really to be able to focus on mental wellness during e-learning. So we're in a lucky position there that I was able to really focus on this. We found that students really benefited from having opportunities to connect online for purely social and mental wellness purposes. And finally, we were reminded that our school community is resilient and strong. Great, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. I like that quote. You can't pour from an empty cup. And I think our cups have been, poured out over these last couple of years. So we're now going to transition. I'm so bad at forgetting my phone. It's 3:20. I have a couple of friendly announcements. The active break, we have that prepared for you, trivia. James and Kim tomorrow will lead us in that. You do need a device. So it could be your iPad, your computer, your phone, as long as you can connect to Kahoot, and we'll display the code and make it fun and challenging. And somebody asked if there was prizes. Yeah, sure, why not? There's lots. So we'll make all of that count. So just as we transition, I do commit to you to end 30 minutes early today. So we will not end at 4:30, rather at 4 o'clock. But for the next 40 minutes or so, we will focus on number one, MK staff at every table. 1, 2, 3 staff, doesn't matter. It's important, even if there is not a seat, so I don't want communities to move out of their seat. Rather, MK will come up with a chair or 2 or 3 to sit at your table. MK is asked, hold on. MK is asked to capture the dialogue and email me or Shara. Yeah, so while the discussion is going, and maybe Julian, you can bring up the agenda, it's already there. To bring up the dialogue immediately. So let's not save that for, tomorrow or whatever. When you're done, email it. We know that the priority of 21-22 was wellness, right? Like we were bringing kids back to school after March, right? In some cases, some schools opened up in June. I think most did actually. Okay, de biach. So we know that the priority was wellness. It has been for a very long time, not just addressing the burnout of staff, but Bob Crane, stop. Don't be funny. Oh, well. So we know that the priority has been wellness for a long time, right? It's not just this coming school year. It has been last school year. It has been the one before that. It is not going to be fixed and resolved in 2022, 2023. It's going to take years. Think about it. We will have been in 3 years of COVID by then. So it's going to take just as much time, if not double the amount of time, to get out of this. And we have to be mindful of that. It is not just education that has to fix this, right? When we talk about health, it's really creating those partnerships with our colleagues who can help us and who have helped us, I think, throughout these last couple of years, navigating in this situation. Communities responded and communities continue to respond. There continues to be outbreaks. There continues to be clusters of cases, and that is not going away. It's still apparent today. It's endless response. I do want to thank education directors, school administration, principals, front desk staff, classroom teachers, and support staff for their commitment to continuing to be present today. I'd like to thank the leadership for their continued support and advocacy in terms of funding and just helping communities respond the best way appropriate to respond for their communities. I want to thank MK, who mobilized support when communities requested support. And it was fast and it was quick and it was, there was, plan A to plan Z by the end of it. I always reference that with my staff. So the question here today is, we hear that it's a priority. We hear it. So we're asking you, what are some specific mental wellness activities, be it the staff, be it the students, be it your community, be it the school culture? What do you think your community needs? And what are you doing for your community to address these issues? And what do you need support with? And I think lastly, I want to lift up these tables, metaphorically. Not this table. But that have kept us going. And I think that it's always important to keep in mind and to reflect on what has brought us here. It's been the education working group, the principals working group, the language advisory, namely for MK, who have continued to meet. I know at one point during the pandemic, the directors met weekly, and very different from our usual monthly meetings. Monthly is, very frequent, in a common schedule, but we were meeting weekly because that's how fast things were changing. And that's how many questions we had, but that's how many solutions that we had. So we facilitated, or we hosted, and communities came together. We respect and we acknowledge that jurisdiction rests with communities, and those decisions and autonomy over making those decisions rest with community. But there has always been, and I think very much elevated in the pandemic, the earlier stage, there was always a willingness and a desire to come together as frequently as we could, to work together, to provide the support, to get the support. And I think that, we are in this state because of that help and because of that motivation, just to continue and to, I swear, plan endlessly. So I did want to leave just the discussion, remembering that and lifting that up, because we're now going to transition into the discussion. We'll leave this up. So again, MK staff to the table. There is no MK table, so separate. And at 4 o'clock, I'll just start doing draws, and that's your cue that it's game over today. They see me, right? Akil, Nuda Heyman. Hi, Zoom. We are now basically, I think you can go if you wanted to. You don't have to, but we're just deep in the community tables right now. And you're welcome to FaceTime with a community member if you wanted to. Yeah. So I just didn't want to leave them hanging. Last chance to have your name. If it's not here, make sure it's in here. Gonna look at them in quick run through. $3.59. How do you tell? Oh yeah. 20 seconds. I'm waiting until 4 o'clock. Oh, 5 seconds. Did you know that you could tell from there? I did not know that. 4 o'clock. Chief Andrea. You might have to roll them back in.
Pick a prize. Yes.
Bruce Herney.
Does that mean you're gonna pick?
Maybe like a notepad. Notepad, not iPad. Spencer. Wilmot. I think I have 15 prizes on the table. Pam Marston. Marilyn Perkins.
Oh my God, she left.
Oh, she left. Oopsie. Sahamau Norman. Irene Endicott. How many do I have?
5, 6.
Devin Sylvester. Ann Landry. District Chief Alec Christmas. Sorry. Ellie Gake. Ellie? There's those coats as well. Ellie? Laura, member 2 Marshall. Giselle. Where you go? Ellie go? No. Greg Marr. Shubi. Diane McLean, ABFN. We have a few more. Sheila Francis. Anything you want. Yep. Majida. Lily Beth.
Yeah.
Oh. Not it. Darren Gugu. Tassa. 15, let it go. So I have a few more. Maybe they'll tell a winter jacket, Darren. John McCall. Donna Lehman. Donna Lehman.
Doesn't even look
Wait,
that
what?
big. Satin hands.
Satin hands. It's
Mary
like
Kay.
Avon.
Yeah.
Not Avon. Mary Kay. Gordon MacGyver.
Yeah, two more. What's the other?
No, yeah, they'll get them. That's it. Two more. Yeah, just give that one to Gordon. Bundle. Okay, I have a question. Does everybody's name go back in for the iPad? Yeah? Okay, so Giselle will fold them up. I'll do this one. Hurry up, Giselle.
Hold on. How about the picture?
All of it.
All of it?
Well, no, it's not one prize, but it's. I'm just folding them naturally. Okay, this is for Dana that.
I think this is made by
Rain Doucette, they'll get them. So it's like a 4-piece
I've got enough hands, guys.
man, woman, star. Oh, it's a big Jane Meter.
Yay!
And then you have to come up for this because we have to take pictures. Okay. Oh, it looks like a Lucy Joe. Okay, all of these names will be burned and we'll come back tomorrow and do it all over again. That's it. No more toss up.